Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Sheen, your host. This is Money Matters. In this channel, we talk about money, finance, how to grow your money, how to invest your money, how to make money work hard for you. Check out my other videos. If you like what I'm doing, give a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel, helps spread the word, and helps contribute to the YouTube algorithm. So please give a thumbs up if you like what I'm doing. Consider subscribing and you'll get updates on all my new videos. All right, today we're going to talk about what you can do with your $1,200 stimulus check. So basically, if you file taxes in 2019 or 2018, you should be getting a stimulus check from the government as long as you made under $75,000. That's gross income if you're single, and 150,000 or below if you're married filing jointly. So you'll be getting $1,200. So that is a good amount of money that we weren't expecting, just 2-3 weeks ago. So this is kind of like new money that we weren't expecting. So what should you do with the money? First of all, if you need to pay for food, grocery, rent, medicines, that's what you need to do, and that's what you should do. But if you are blessed to have this be extra money that you don't necessarily need to survive, to pay for food and medicine and such, what should you do with this money? So since this channel is about money and finance, so I'm going to talk about 3 things that you should do with this money if you're lucky enough to have this as extra money. All right. So number 1, you should pay off debt. That's absolutely the number 1 thing. I know it's not fun. I know it's not exciting, like buying a new TV or buying a new toy or something, but paying off debt is really going to help you out in the long run. You're paying a lot of interest on any debt, especially if you have credit card debt. You're paying probably 14, 15, maybe 17% on credit card debt. And so that is just ridiculous amount of money that you do not need to be paying for. So if you had some debt, if you had student loans, depending on what your interest rate is, if you had credit card debt, definitely you should get rid of that debt, try to pay that debt off. Debt is always going to hold you down. It's kind of like a big ball and chain. It will never allow you to move to the next level. It will never allow you to save. It will never allow you to invest. It will never allow you to purchase a house. It will just keep on holding you down. So absolutely, the first thing you should do is focus on paying off debt. So if you don't have any debt, or if your debt is minimum and it's at a low interest rate, you could consider doing the next thing, which is start saving for an emergency fund. So this whole situation that's going on globally right now, illness 19, it has showed a lot of people that once you lose your job, the paycheck stops coming. Living paycheck to paycheck is very dangerous. You don't know what can happen. This illness 19 just kind of popped up, and nobody was expecting this. Really, if you think about like 4 weeks ago, like last month, barely anybody was talking about this illness 19. So all of a sudden, 3.3 million people filed for unemployment. So all these people just lost their jobs basically overnight. And so if you're counting on that paycheck to put food on the table, put clothes on your kids' back, feed your kids, feed yourself, that's a really tough position to be in because, this time it was this illness 19. Next time it could be, something else can happen. Anything can happen. You never know what's going to happen. So if you are living paycheck to paycheck, now's the time to start thinking about saving up for an emergency fund. Typically, people say 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund. That way, if something like this happens again, you are more prepared for it. You don't have to start drawing on your credit cards, racking up more debt. So 3 to 6 months is the average recommendation on how much of an emergency fund that you should have. So what should be covered in this 3 to 6 month emergency fund? So basically, you need to look at your expenses for the month, how much you spend per month on the absolute needs. Any medication that you need to buy, food and groceries that you need to buy. Definitely it doesn't count eating out, so that's like not a need. That's more of a luxury if you're eating out. We're talking about like food, groceries that you buy, milk, all that kind of stuff that's in your home. Also your living expenses, electricity, water, housing, rent, mortgage, whatever it is. Those are the things that are in your needs, and those are the things that you should be accounting for that 3 to 6 months emergency fund. So after you have that emergency fund, it should be ideally in a high yield savings account. A lot of online saving accounts are giving pretty decent yields. I think 1.7% is the average of the high yield savings. I think Discover Card has a good high yield savings account. American Express has a high yield savings account. Ally Bank. A lot of these online banks that don't have a brick and mortar store, not like the big banks like Chase, Wells Fargo's. Those banks will typically not give you a good yield because they have a lot of costs maintaining the brick and mortar stores. But the online banks that don't have these brick and mortar stores, they're giving you pretty decent yields, up to almost 2% now, even though interest rate has been cut. There are still some of them that I'll link in the description below that's giving you 1.5% or higher. So that at least keeps you above inflation. You can put your money in there, and if you need that emergency fund, it's always there. It's liquid, and you can always draw on it. So that's the thing about emergency funds, is it needs to be liquid. You need to get to that money as soon as something happens. You need to have that liquid. So that is why it should be in a savings account, and ideally in a high yield savings account, earning at least a little bit of interest for you. So number three, the third thing you should do, so if you have your debt paid off, your 3 to 6 month emergency fund already stashed away, then the next thing that I suggest is investing in the stock market. So I talk a lot about investing, I talk a lot about the stock market. So that's the number three thing that you should do, is put your money to work for you, especially in these times where the stock market is low, everything is on sale. A lot of these great companies, A-list companies that have been around for a long time, that are not going to go anywhere and are only going to go up. Those are the companies that you want to invest in as a beginner. So if you don't want to invest in individual companies, you can always invest in index funds. I have a video where I talk about index funds versus mutual funds versus ETFs. So I'll link that in the description below. So if you're not really too keen on investing in individual stocks, you could definitely look into index funds and ETFs. So one of the most popular and most common index funds is just basically the S&P. The S&P 500 is basically the top 500 companies in the US. So the top 5 you probably know: Microsoft, Google, Facebook, these tech companies. ExxonMobil is in there. I'm not sure if they're top 5 though. But so all these companies that you know in your day-to-day lives, 3M, Johnson & Johnson, JP Morgan Chase. So all these companies that you know, probably their top 20 you probably heard of, because they're the biggest companies in the US. If you were just investing in the S&P, just the S&P index fund, average annual return for S&P index fund is 9.8%. So here is a chart of the S&P going back, I believe this is 30 years. So you'll see in 30 years, on average, the S&P is in the green. So most of the time, the S&P is doing well as compared to times that it's doing bad. So the biggest red down there is the 2007, 2008 market crash. And then obviously right now, 2020, the market is doing pretty bad. So even if you just invest in the simple S&P 500, at least you'll be getting a 8 to 9% return. And just compare that to whatever else you're getting. I mean, we just talked about savings account probably gives you no more than 2%. Even a CD is probably not giving you more than 3% nowadays. So putting your money that you're planning to invest in something else that's giving you just 2 to 3% just makes no sense. When the S&P historically, going back 30 years, going back 50 years, it still gives an 8 to roughly 9.8% return. So that's just free money, extra money that if you just invest in the S&P, you'll be making that. So those are the three things I suggest people do with their stimulus check. Don't blow this money. Don't go buy something silly. Don't go buy something that you don't need. Don't buy a television. Don't do any of that. This money can grow to a few $1,000s if you just put it in the market. It'll definitely grow. It might not grow this year, and it might not grow next year because the market is not doing well. But that is the time you want to put your money in, when the market is not doing well, so everything is at a lower cost. And when you look at this in 5 to 7 years, you're definitely going to see an increase on your initial $1,200 that you invested. So let me know if you like my video, guys. Give a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel. Consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.